Hello, KBE 200 watchers. Welcome. Today I will be reflecting and sharing my experience as an Asian female athlete who played competitive soccer. Soccer is not just a sport I loved, but from a physical cultural perspective, soccer has shaped how I understand my identity, power, and belonging. Today's episode will break down the systems that structure the sport of soccer, including racism, capitalism, and normalization. I have played competitive soccer for over a decade, training and competing. Soccer became a part of my identity. As learned from KBE 200, physical culture isn't just about movement, it's about the meanings and power relations attached to the movement. Soccer has deep cultural roots, carrying specific social value and image. Being a soccer player has tied social value where the ideas of toughness, masculinity, pride, and nationalism are tied, creating a physical culture where power, identity, and inclusion are constantly in play. A little history of the kind of roots soccer comes from. For example, the gender norms in soccer often prioritize and favorize men. Women's soccer is often dismissed. There is less funding, coverage, and respect towards female soccer. Growing up as a female player soccer, I saw how girls' teams were never treated as seriously as the boys. For example, in school soccer, coaches often favored the boys' soccer team over the girls. The boys got better equipment, more practice times, and priority. Race and nationalism intersect too. National pride is often tied to white players who symbolize success, while players of colors face racism from fans, media, and opponents. For example, in professional leagues, Black and other ethnic players face immense racism from fans, opponents, and coaches regularly. For example, the story about an English soccer player named Saka. When he missed his penalty, he faced racially abusive comments all over social media and fans. It was absolutely terrible. And as well, class and access are also major factors. The pay-to-play model in soccer limits who can participate. Soccer may appear inclusive, but it reproduces systems of power determining who is included and who is excluded. Playing soccer gave me joy, motivation, friendship, structure, but over time it also taught me who fits in and who doesn't. This is where the human condition comes in. We don't just live an individual isolated experience. We live in bodies that are racialized, gendered, and classed. These systems shaped how we move and whose lives are included or excluded. My experience in soccer was not just shaped by my actions, but by systems of power. As an Asian girl, these systems shaped how I was expected to behave and who I could become on the team. This links to habitus, one of Bourdieu's concepts. I now see that I learned to become the ideal soccer player, someone who was coachable, did not speak out, was respectful and hardworking. These behaviors felt natural, but were shaped by social conditions and power. These habits were socially learned responses shaped by what the environment rewarded and considered social norms in this physical environment. Coaches liked discipline and athletes that listened, so I followed that. Using a grounded theory perspective, starting from lived experiences, I remember how my Black coaches and teammates were treated evidently differently, revealing patterns of exclusion. I saw how white referees were quicker to call or card them, and during equipment checks, the refs often analyzed them longer than the white players. These patterns are not random. They reveal the racial bias built into the system of the physical culture in sports. And that's where cultural studies theories and hegemony explain why this occurs. It is not said out loud that white players are the idolized players, but as you grow up, you can feel and see it. The white girls were seen as natural leaders, the best players, and as an Asian girl, I was read through stereotypes, seen as middle of the pack, disciplined but not leader material. This demonstrates hegemony, how the dominant ideas become normalized or common sense without anyone saying them out loud. To play soccer, access to field, uniform, equipment, coaches are all required, needing time and money. Players who cannot afford this are excluded from the sport regardless of their skill. Capitalism plays a huge role because in order to play, you need to pay. This economic structure favors those in middle to upper class backgrounds, ultimately excluding talented players who are in the lower class. This system contributes to exclusion as only privileged people can be included. Beyond the economic barriers, there's an invisible limitation that decides who truly belongs in the soccer community. This is where normalization comes into play. Many of the teams I played for, the ideal player is often perceived as white, middle class. These traits are not just preferred, but are embedded in the normalities that define the success and leadership in the sport. As an Asian female player, I felt different sometimes, kind of left out. I found myself sometimes needing to navigate these unspoken expectations and trying to adjust my behavior to fit the stereotypical ideal player. This constant self-regulation aligns with Foucault's concept of the panopticon. Even when coaches, parents, scouts weren't actually watching me, I learned to judge myself before anyone else could. The internalized awareness I had of being judged led me to follow the dominant norms, acting a certain way. I made sure to always put my best efforts during drills, even when coaches were not directly watching me. I modified how I communicated and how I presented myself on and off the field. My experience playing soccer was also deeply shaped by intersectionality. Being Asian and female meant I experienced soccer differently than a white male player would. I wasn't just facing racism or gender norms, I was experiencing all of them at the same time, producing my specific experience in the environment of oppression. This connects to the coin model of privilege, which helps me understand the social conditions that shape my participation while playing soccer. I'm on the top of the coin for being able-bodied, straight, and middle class, which allowed me to play the sport to begin with. But I'm also on the bottom of the coin, being Asian female, shaped how I was coached, and shaped how I moved through the space, sometimes feeling unpowered and different. I now understand another important concept like biopower. I see how it played out in my body when I was training and being disciplined. Fitness tests, nutrition, body composition tracking, we were treating the body as something to be disciplined, trained, and corrected. But whose bodies are allowed to be healthy in different ways? As we discussed in class, biopower isn't just about individual choices. It's about systems managing populations through norms and standards. To conclude, all of this goes back to the human condition. This is where it all connects. Playing soccer wasn't just an individual experience, it was deeply social. It taught me how power moves through bodies, how some identities are valued and how some aren't. Thank you for joining me in this video about soccer as physical culture. This reflection has taught me how the sport shapes my identity in a specific way because of power and social norms. To change these challenges, we need to challenge the norms that shape belonging, leadership, and success.